Yeah, okay. Ooh, it's red now? Yeah. Hi, live stream. Hey, live stream. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Nina Vossen. I'm the Chief Medical Officer here at REAL. I'm also a practicing psychiatrist and professor at Stanford University School of Medicine, where I run Brainstorm, which is Stanford's lab for mental health innovation. I'm thrilled to welcome you here to REAL Studio in New York City. Revlon and REAL have come together in order to honor Mental Health Awareness Month. We're working together to raise awareness about the importance of mental and emotional health. The REAL and Revlon initiative is helping to provide access to REAL's easy-to-use tools and affordable resources in order to help make taking care of one's mental health a routine practice. Okay, so the campaign is called Caring for Your Mental Wellness is Beautiful, and it explores the intersection of beauty and mental health. This campaign and our discussion here today will celebrate the positive impacts of beauty and wellness and what that does for our mental health. We're also going to unpack the ways that traditional beauty standards can negatively impact mental health. As a physician who has worked in healthcare for nearly 2 decades, someone who's seen thousands of patients of all backgrounds, and as someone who has been very public about my own challenges with mental health, I couldn't be more excited to moderate this conversation here today. Both because I know we're going to have a great discussion, and also because of what it means for advancing conversations and perceptions of mental health in society worldwide, I'm very excited to get to welcome you here today. So let's get started with some quick introductions. And even though no one here needs any introductions, I'm going to ask them to please introduce themselves. And let's start with the fabulous Ashley. Can you please introduce yourself to our audience, both here in the studio and all around?
What's up, live? What's up, everybody? Thank you for being here. I'm Ashley Graham, and I am currently a mother of 3. Nice to meet you.
Hi, everybody on the stream. I am Tunde Oyeneyin. I'm a fur mother. Does that count for anything?
Yes,
I have a dog named Caesar. He's chilling at home. I'm a Peloton instructor, Nike athlete, and Revlon ambassador. It's incredible to be here. Hi to everybody.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ariella Safira. I am also a fur mother. And when I'm not watching Charlie, I'm the founder and CEO of REAL, this mental health care company. So wonderful to be here.
Thank you, thank you. So everyone, we're gonna have some questions on the panel, and we're also gonna have some time for Q&A at the end. So be thinking about your questions and write them down, and we definitely want to have some time for you to ask them. So let's get started. Okay, Ashley and Tunde, can you please share a little bit about your personal journeys with mental health? And let's have
Don't look at me like I'm.
Well, she said Ashley and Tunde.
Okay, well here, let me say this first of all. You have done an awesome job of just being so vocal and open and honest and real about your mental health journeys. And you know, if we go back 5 years, no one was doing that. You all have been amazing at doing that. You've done it in a way that really connects with people. And you know, one, just thank you. Thank you for doing that. And it's really vulnerable. It's like, you know, patients come to me in my clinic and it's hard for them to do that. You have done that in front of millions of people. And you've done that at some of the most vulnerable moments. Ashley, you talk about, you know, giving birth and what that was like when, you know, you were losing consciousness. Okay, that's deeply, deeply powerful. Like, tell us, and Tunde, you're there, you know, leading workouts, leading very, very difficult workouts, okay? And you know, you're this like leader figure, and you're talking about your mental health. So, you know, for you both to be on such a public stage talking about it, it's very different. And so I'd just love if you can if Ashley, if you can start, tell us about your mental health journey, and also how has it been to, you know, share so much of yourself in this way with people?
Well, as far as sharing myself goes, I think that it's been really easy for me to be honest. And I think we all know, especially in this room, that social media can be so fake and it can be so filtered and it can be such a curated moment. And I'm just so sick of it, and I've been sick of it since I got on it. And so I've never been one to disguise what is real and what is and what is an idea of my life. So that's really how I think sharing my mental health journey has begun. I've never been one to struggle with depression or major anxiety, but I do know what it's like to have major issues come up in my life and have my big freak out moments, and how am I going to deal with it? How am I going to handle it? How am I going to see myself on the other side? And those are moments where I've really had to go inward and practice more than just a gratitude, more than just a self-affirmation. You know, these are like, you know, the kind of conversations you have with yourself or with your therapist, which I did end up getting a therapist in 2020, I think, like the rest of us, if you didn't already have one, where you really can just like lay it out on the line for yourself, and you can say like, this is what I'm dealing with, and this is how I'm going to handle it. And for me, it's really about being active. And I'm not talking about a workout. I'm talking about, maybe it's about cleaning my house, or maybe it's about just being moving, you know, throughout the outside, just something that is taking my mind off of something, whatever the issue is. And yes, this last childbirth experience I had was a big one. And but I think because I was mentally in such a great place when I had my twins, it wasn't a traumatic experience. So for me, practicing and having daily work on myself brought me to that place that could have been so traumatic, and it made it a moment of gratitude where God saved me. So so that's really kind of like I don't know, a very quick way to talk about my journey.
Yeah, thank you. And what are, when you think about the mental health things that have come up for you, what are over you know, the last 10 years, let's say, what are some of those things that would come to mind?
I mean, can I pay my rent?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, how am I going to get a job? You know, like real life stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm also married. You know, it's like, and I have children. I think that anybody is going to have real life stuff, right?
Absolutely. And you've done it, you know, in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Tunde.
Yeah, I think about what you're saying about the 2020. Everybody got a therapist if you didn't already, if you're fortunate enough to be able to do that. If the last 2 years have taught us anything, I think that it's that movement is medicine. Movement is medicine. I think before the pandemic, people would have said that working out was like very physical, like you're caring about what you look like or feel like on the outside. And then the pandemic happened, and you found out that when you move, you just feel better. I think that, you know, for many people, they will say that Peloton was a savior for them. It has been a savior for them in the last 2 or 3 years. I've been very open and honest about the fact that people come to move to have this moment of freedom and escape. And then we, as the people behind the camera, we were also going through the pandemic too, hurting too. And so, you know, I had many moments being very vocal, to your point, and being very honest about how I was feeling mentally inside, how I was feeling physically, eating differently, not moving as much, and how I really had to work my center, to find my center again, to look for new avenues that brought me joy. We think about the last 2 years and the way that the world has shifted. And as so many people know, it's not really about the idea of regaining our world, but reforming our world in terms of like social justice and whatnot. I think that's the same thing with me and my mental health. Like, not trying to find the same pattern, but to create new habits and new patterns that work for me now in this new world.
Yeah. And you know, today I actually write prescriptions for exercise. And so to your point about absolutely movement is medicine, I think that's incredibly powerful. And to that
so funny to say prescriptions for.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to go somewhere else.
No, it's so powerful when people get just.
You put it on a piece of paper?
I do. And
wow.
People react so well to it. And not only just for exercise, but for other elements of well-being, because I think in the same way that you get it for a medication, to take that level seriously it completely changes the way. Yeah,
See,
yeah.
that's good
People
because
love it.
I
Yeah.
do prescriptions for medicine, for movement.
Yeah.
People say, no, Tunde, I'm not going to do that. But coming from a doctor, they're like, oh, okay, sounds great. I need to change my title. Go back to school.
You have a book coming out. Can you tell us a
It
little
just
bit?
came out.
Yeah, can you tell? Yeah, yes. Can you tell us about it and how what we're talking about today is a part of your book?
Yeah, so my book is called Speak, Find Your Voice, Start to Where You Want to Be. Speak is a memoir, but it's also a guide that I've created, memoir manifesto. Speak is also an acronym: surrender, power, empathy, authenticity, and knowledge. When I surrender, it results in change that leads to growth. And I'm talking about like fully surrender, submitting to what is. I speak to power in the book as purpose. Power is purpose. Purpose I define as that thing that you do, and when you're doing it, it's like everything in your body lights up. You feel so connected to why you're here. When you can tap into more moments of purpose, you feel in your power. Empathy is rooted in love, not just love for other people, but self-love. I cannot love you fully if I don't know how to love myself first. Authenticity is the intersection of truth and trust. Having the audacity to trust yourself enough to show up as you fully are. And then lastly, knowledge. Echoes of the past inform the future. Every misstep, every missed opportunity, everything that did not go your way led you to this moment. Take those experiences to move into the next one. Speak.
That is beautiful. I wanted to put that on the wall right there. That's amazing.
Next to the boobs.
Yes. Love that. Yes. Can I ask how do each of you define mental wellness?
I don't think there's a definition for it. I think
Yes.
it's like everybody's is so different. As I was prepping for this, in the car on the way here, I was asking everybody in the car, like, what does it mean to you? And everybody had a different experience. Everybody has a different experience when it comes to mental health, when it comes to like, how do you attack what it is that you're facing? So there's no definition when it comes to mental health.
I love that. I think that's really powerful to get out there, right? And what does it mean to you to say also there's no definition? And how do you think that changes how people will hear it? If we say there's no definition, right? Like, what do you want people to hear from that?
Well, then maybe they'll just agree that we all need to tap in, right?
It comes in different shapes. Own thing, right?
Yeah, it comes in different shapes and different forms.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd also add to that, like, it comes in different shapes and forms, even within me daily. So it's different for you and you and you and you, and then me, and then Tunde's mental health on Tuesday looks very different than Tunde's mental health on Saturday.
Yeah.
Mental health on Saturday may involve a margarita, but yeah, every day's different.
Yeah.
I like a margarita.
And how do you ask and find support for your mental health and well-being?
That's my problem, asking for help.
It is
right? That is a big thing. Something I really had to learn these last couple of years. To be able to, you said surrender, and I said, how do we surrender? Like that word is so big, especially as a woman who is trying to do it all, have it all, right? There's no such thing. Shonda Rhimes just had a speech come out. I saw it on TikTok. I don't know how old it is, but she was like, when I'm not succeeding, when you see me out in the field, excelling at a Grey's Anatomy, whatever, I'm failing at home. And when you don't see me at this event, I'm at home giving my child a bath, or I'm at a soccer game. And I was like, that's it. Like you can't have it all because there's no such thing. So how do you surrender that moment of not being able to have it all and tap in and say, it's okay? And so for me, I mean, I've been having that surrender conversation with myself. It's a big deal.
Yeah. I saw that same
You did?
interview. Yeah. I think it's older, but she said it.
That's why I said, I don't know how old it is. You know how TikTok,
right,
they can come around
Shonda.
and make you feel good. You're like, that's 10 years old.
Yeah.
Right. She said it a couple times, so maybe it's a new one.
Okay.
Maybe she said it again last week.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. And I mean, even when I heard Shonda Rhimes say it, and then hearing Ashley Graham say it now and agree, I think that when women say it, powerful women such as yourself, Shonda, it gives license to myself, it gives license to everybody else in this room to also say, okay, gosh, well, if she's struggling with surrendering and, you know, if she's struggling with her kids and home, then maybe, you know, it's okay for me too. And I think that gives us all a license to surrender when we see each other moving through, going through the same experiences and being wildly open and honest about it. I think that we, as people, I think that we are all more alike than we are different. And when we are vulnerable enough to share this shit, can I cuss?
Yes, you can.
Shit. When we are comfortable.
The name of the company is Real, so yes, you may.
Real shit.
Real shit.
Yeah, real shit. When you're comfortable enough to talk about the real stuff, the things that you are going through, the shit, then we see ourselves in each other. And so that's why I think conversations like today's conversation is so important, so valuable, because it gives us all license to be free, to surrender.
Yes. Now, Ariella, you are running this company, and you have this perspective of, you know, thousands and thousands of people who are coming to you with, like, asking for these resources, and so you have this vantage point of, you know, getting to see how people are asking for help. What are you seeing in terms of, you know, how are people asking for help? How are they engaging in care differently, given everything that we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think something really interesting about Real, and obviously the brand we very intentionally built, is it welcomes people who otherwise didn't feel welcome or a part of the therapy story to work on their mental health. And something, you know, even like statements that you're both talking about are things that like really speak to one's mental health, but we've like disassociated the everyday mental health concerns with like depression, anxiety, and meds. And I think something that we've really gotten to see at Real is how many people want care once you speak a language they understand, right? Once your brand doesn't look like a hospital, right? Once you don't associate mental health with darkness and rock bottom, once you give it a brighter light, everyone wants to be involved, right? We all can empathize with and understand the question of who am I? Right? We have all reached some point of like, I'm not sure if I'm satisfied with my life. And for many of us, even much darker thoughts around that, right? And I think one of the goals of Real, and certainly what we've seen come to fruition, is seeing how many people want to be a part of that conversation once you let them in the room. And ideally, I mean, folks like you both can bring in more and more people to that conversation, because I do think it's something everyone needs. They just don't feel welcome.
Yeah. On the wall over there, there's a line that says celebrating therapy. And I think that, you know, from the very beginning, that's been such a core part of your messaging, is that this is not something that's meant to be stigmatized or shamed, but really we want to get out there in the open and celebrate the fact that you are taking care of your mental health and wellness. Yeah. And I think that so much of what you both have really brought to the public light is, you know, let's actually celebrate people for the, you know, the strength and power it takes to do that. Now, I think when we think about beauty in the beauty world, you know, traditionally the messages that have been out there, it's interesting to think like, what does this look like? And traditionally, there's been a lot of traditionally sometimes what the beauty world has looked like, it's been hard to live up to certain standards. So with that in mind, what I want to ask you about is, if you think about the current beauty standards in our society, how has your own mental health been impacted? And what are some ways that you've seen it affect others around you? And I'm going to, let's say Tunde and then Ashley and then Ariella, I'm going to ask you actually the same question. Because I think this, like, I mean, as women especially, right? Like, I think that this is such a unique element of this partnership, right? We have, you know, this world leader in beauty that's really shaping what beauty looks like for women of all ages all around the world, of all people all around the world. And then when we intersect that with mental health, there's so many elements of what that intersection looks like. And so I think that's a really unique part of what this discussion here today can be about.
Yeah, I think, you know, I'll start with the social media part. Maybe it was like a month ago, there was a picture or a video I was gonna post, and I sent it to one of my friends. I said, can I post this? I look so tired. And she goes, you look human and alive. And so I clicked hit and posted it. And of course, an hour later, I'm like, damn, you don't want to just cover the bags of it. but you know, in that moment, I had this like internal conversation with self. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you part of the problem? Oh my gosh, are you someone who perpetuates these unrealistic ideas of what it looks like to just, I was in my home working out, right? And so, I think about my niece who's 14 years old, and I can't imagine what it's like to be a young person right now. I was in Texas yesterday, and my best friend, she had, the phone, how it does the filter thing now? And she was recording herself, and then she did me, and I'm talking, and I look at the camera, and I go, I don't look like that. What? And so I realized you put this filter thing, and so we had this whole conversation, like, why do you do this? Why do you need it? And I think that, I'm speaking specifically about young people because their brains aren't necessarily developed yet. And so to see yourself in one way, filtered, and then to move into life without it, do you not feel as beautiful without it? And so, I think, that's one piece of it. I'm also in the fitness world. My body changes all the time. We're women, right? And so our bodies change monthly, but beyond that, sometimes I'm eating more fries than I do on other weeks. And so my body changes a lot. And so I, being in the fitness space, I wear basically no clothes to work every single day. And so my body is always exposed. Something that I found as my body moves through different sizes is that women see that, or people see that on the other side of the screen, and they comment on that. And I say that in a positive way. They comment on the fact that it's refreshing to see me as a leader in the fitness space also move through different bodies, as we all do. People don't ever suffer. If you're Ashley Graham, who's really good about that time you lost your tooth and posted it, was that. People don't necessarily get on Instagram to show their least beautiful moments.
Oh, that wasn't even the worst of it.
Well, offline about that. People don't always get online to show their least beautiful moments, and I think that it's a dangerous space that we're in right now. It's a really, really, really dangerous space, not just for young people, but for all people. And if I can be any part of sharing my reel to again give license to other people to show their reel, then I want to move towards being part of that, and maybe showing a busted tooth or.
So your teeth are perfect.
I've been going with no eyebrows lately on Instagram.
Really?
Yes, no eyebrows on Instagram. Okay, she's bold and brazen.
Yeah, that's your thing. See, you don't know what people's things are, right?
I usually have an eyebrow on, and so.
Oh, really? Oh, that's like wake up eyebrow. Got it. Okay. I'm lucky if I brush my teeth.
What would you say to them to try to encourage, if we try to change the conversation and get people to do exactly what you're saying? What do we do?
What do we do, or what do we say to them? I don't know. For me, it's been a matter of I'm looking at your Nike shoes, but just doing it. Just doing it. And I think that, if you're someone that thrives off of feedback, then you'll see that the feedback is there. People will acknowledge what you've done, and 99.9% of the time it's in a positive way. For me, it's also just freeing. I was the person who very much had to have the lighting and the eyebrow on and the lipstick on to push post on something, and it's been so free now to just
be.
To just be. And then again, when you're being yourself, people connect. I don't wake up with red lipstick on, And so to show myself without
Unless
it.
You got those margaritas.
That's
Just dive in the bed.
That's Sunday night. That's Sunday after
Sunday
the
night.
Well, after the mimosas,
You talk about the beauty industry, and I think that there is so much fun happening in the beauty industry right now. We're talking about makeup, we're talking about hair, we're talking about clothes, and there's so much community that's happening within the beauty industry that I love. But I think that there's also this idea of I have to look a certain way to be a beauty influencer, to have influence of any sort. And we're all looking to be influencers, right? So if you are going to take that hat to be a beauty influencer, you have to take what is coming with it, right? That responsibility, and you have to own it. And I think that that's where the real problem is the people who want that title and that to be a part of that space, they're the ones hurting it for the younger generation, because they're the ones that are walking into a space that has been molded to be, quote, perfect, social media, and they feel that so they have to be that. So they're giving the younger generation this bigger issue of what they are supposed to look like as well, which is why they're not young people are not dating, they are committing suicide, they have depression, they like all of the dark, terrible, awful things that we do not want to see our children go through, that we all have probably gone through, right? So that to me is like, if you are going to be in that space and you are going to own it, it doesn't matter if you're a micro influencer or if you're a mega influencer, like you have to remember that you have to own it. You have to own the people that are following you, because you're the one that's impacting their life as well. Because you can't change a system necessarily all by yourself, but collectively we can do little things.
You talk about the power of beauty. Beauty can be so empowering, and like all the joy that beauty can bring. What does that look like?
That's such a broad question. In the sense of, I'm like, what kind of beauty are we talking about, right? Let's define beauty. Are we talking about internal, external? And then like, what do those things even look like, right? Like, you know, the thing that people always like to throw at me is like, oh, you're a real woman. I'm like, what is a real woman, right? Like, are you talking about like, oh, because I got an ass, like I'm a real woman? No, like everything is defined so differently. We have different identities. We are different people. But at the end of the day, like Tunde said, we all have this collective, like we are the same, right? So when can we get to the bottom of that and come back around?
So good. So good.
Now, Ariella, can you tell us a little bit more about Real and the inspiration for the company? Yeah.
I can. But I also wanted to add to what you were sharing is like, we do need more people to get off social media, right? Like so many of these platforms are designed to get you addicted to things that more often than not are bad for you, right? It's a lot easier to get you hooked on negative things than positive. And I am by no means an influencer and follow 20 people on Instagram, but
we love to see it.
but there's nothing impressive about mine. But I do think something that's so valuable and needed is actually to take time away from it, and something, you know, these companies are designed to ensure you're obsessed with negative things, and I am not sure how influencers can do it, but getting them away from it would be so valuable.
I will say, after I had my twins, I deleted the Instagram app for about 6 weeks, and it was the best thing I did for my mental health. And I know that some of people in here that might make you like have chills up your spine, right? Because it's like you're on your phone and you're just, your thumb like goes to it, and then you like click it, and then you're like, wait, what happened? And then you start judging yourself. You start expecting things of yourself. And it's like, I'm in postpartum. I am with my babies. Like, what am I doing comparing myself to all these people? So to your point, Ariella, deleting things out of your phone brings awareness to your mental health. Yeah.
And with that,
I love it.
Add to your phone
The Real app.
Hey! Much healthier.
Download this.
But I mean, the story behind Real really speaks to this quite a bit of like, you know, I don't have a clinical background. Nina was actually my professor in undergrad.
Oh, cool. She didn't date her, she hired her.
I became very passionate about mental health care while I was an undergrad when, I'll start by saying there's a trigger warning here, I'm talking about suicidality. While I was an undergrad, a friend of mine had attempted to take her life, and that was the first time I'd ever heard of therapy, right? The first time I'd ever seen rehab, first time I'd ever had a friend tell me about their medication experience, and it made no sense, right? I mean, just the fact that the first time she'd ever met a mental health clinician was when she attempted to take her life was traumatizing, right? I often say, imagine if the first time you had ever met a primary care physician was when you had cancer, right? We would say, we failed you, right? The healthcare system failed. And not only do you meet the system so late, but also when you meet it, you're told there's a 6-month wait list to see a clinician. Again, imagine if we told someone with cancer, they have a 6-month wait list to see an oncologist, right? And so I threw myself at the system, became pretty obsessed, and I actually left college, thought I would drop out entirely to found Real. And after a year away, a different professor convinced me that if I want to change healthcare without a medical degree, it's going to be tough. If I want to do it without a bachelor's, good luck. So I came back and I met Nina in her course, Innovating in Mental Health Care, and then continued working on it beyond Stanford. I worked at it at a few places in New York City. I biked across a few countries to fundraise for suicide prevention, and then ultimately thought, I've seen every mental health care model and none of them work. Even our definition for things working, I'm like, really, all my friends are still depressed. No one in my family has ever seen a therapist. What is the definition of this working if no one I know is getting care, right? And they're like whispering their suicide stories, right? This is awful. So I left to go to Columbia's clinical psych program, where I spent approximately 20 seconds before dropping out, because I saw this training is shit, right, on the topic of shit. Therapy training. It's outdated, it's sexist, it's racist, it's completely broken. So I dropped out of Columbia now 3 years ago, called Nina to move over to New York and be the chief medical officer, and founded Real. And again, similar to all the things we've been saying today, the goal is like, how can we build a system that actually meets people where they're at, right? We can't look like a hospital. We can't wait until rock bottom to reach people. We have to build a habit every day and make this a part of our everyday conversation, much like we've already done in fitness, right? And we're working on it for the past 3 years.
Yay.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Round of applause. Can you share more about the Real and Revlon initiative?
Yeah, I mean, we're so fortunate to be working with the Revlon team, not just because Revlon's such a big brand, but more importantly, because Revlon has been so thoughtful about like, what does it really mean to talk about mental health in the context of beauty, right? And from the very beginnings, it was like, let's not just slap mental health across CVS's, but rather like, let's be real here, right? Like we have a complex relationship with beauty, right? And for some, beauty can be an amazing form of self-expression, right? In a really wonderful way to like reclaim your identity. Things like makeup can do that for you. And for many others, certainly myself at times throughout my life, it can be like something that causes insecurity, self-doubt, right? And so throughout this, I mean, there were so many touch points in this partnership, but something that's been so critical throughout is ensuring we're actually being real, right? And speaking to the everyday person about what does your mental health look like in the context of beauty. And it's brought us to amazing conversations like this one.
Thank you. I think we'll have one more question, then we're going to try to open it up for Q&A. I want to make sure that that's right with our team. Yes, we can do one more. Yes, okay. Let me see.
Blink twice.
When it comes, what comes to mind personally for each of you as you think about the campaign's roots? And again, what our campaign is caring for your caring for your mental wellness is beautiful.
I would say soul care. There's self-care. I think that when we say self-care, it sounds like this luxury thing, like nails and spa and this privileged thing that you get to do. For me, I call it soul care because it's acts that I'm doing for the good of my soul. I'm doing it because it makes my soul feel good. Sometimes soul care for me is taking off my shoes and walking in grass. Sometimes soul care is a candle and a hot bath, some music. A man could be there. No. I've gone too far.
We love it.
Keep going.
Sometimes soul care is spending 5 minutes in that mirror, putting on my lash. What's that new mascara that I love? Eyes Wide Open by Revlon. Yeah, so soul care.
Mine's So Fierce.
Okay, so I was on So Fierce. Have you tried Eyes Wide Open yet?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I modeled it.
I pay attention to what's going on. I'm an Eyes Wide Open girl now. So anyways, we'll just scratch that from the live stream.
It's all the family.
But yeah, no, but so my soul care looks different. And so I think that, I'm bringing it back to beauty and just saying like, sometimes it's something as nuanced as getting my nails done or my hair done, but sometimes soul care for me is just giving back to my soul. Soul care for me is often saying no to things. When I say no, when I give necessary no's, it opens up space for a much more necessary hell yes. When I say no to that one thing, for Ashley, maybe saying no to things so you can spend time with your babies. For me, it might be saying no to something so I can just sit and be in silence. And so I've gotten really good at practicing the word no, not no and, not no but, not no but maybe later. No, period. No. Yeah.
The campaign, I mean, I think that it speaks for itself as far as mental health is beautiful. I think that that is it. Like, we just have that awareness, the app, the initiative with Revlon. I mean, I think just understanding that mental health isn't ugly, it's not dark, it's something that it needs to be integrated into everybody's life. I think that that's just truly what that campaign really speaks to.
I echo you both, and what I'd add is it really speaks like mental health being a journey, right? And it is everyday beauty. It is something to be proud of, and it's something to be worked on forever. There is no end to your accomplishment to your mental health. It is something that you're constantly aware of, and something we should all be proud to be a part of.
Thank you. Now let's take some audience questions. Yes.
Hi y'all, I'm Deshonda from Essence Magazine. Nice to meet you all. I want to ask a question about beauty as it pertains to the body. Tunde, you were talking earlier about how like you're very open and honest about like the fluctuation of your body, and I feel like oftentimes these days people lump beauty with just the face, and beauty is the whole body. So the other day I was talking to my 14-year-old niece, obviously, and she was saying that she feels like she needs to work out because she feels like people are calling her fat. She feels like people are looking at her different, and it breaks my heart to see someone that's so young be so self-conscious about their body. So how do you see the relationship between social media and body positivity having a negative and positive impact on young people? Sorry for the deep question.
No, I mean, your question is almost an answer within the question, meaning that I think that social media has both positively and negatively impacted the way, not just young people, but the way that people see their bodies. I'll add to your question maybe and say, how do we get past it, move through it? I think it's by continuing to, again, be vulnerable, because within having these moments where you, as a fitness instructor, get on and say, oh, I'm not loving the skin I'm in today, I don't feel comfortable in my body today, that makes me, to at what Ashley's point, I think when the people are like, oh, you're a real girl, or whatever they say, right? Yeah. Like, to say, oh, she's a real fitness instructor, I don't even know if that's a thing either, but just like being open and having these conversations. When we hear that we all go through the same thing, that gives us license and merit to not just surrender to also be okay within ourselves and our bodies. Like, you see the person that you think is perfect, right, in your head, and then you hear that said perfect person also goes through their own thing, then you realize that you're just human too. You're just human too. I don't think that answers your question at all. But maybe just a little bit.
Well, you can tell her that other girls like her are going through the exact same thing, and she's not alone. That's first and foremost, right? And you could probably tell her your own experiences with it, because yours are probably totally different. Yours are probably not based around social media when you were her age, but you know that feeling of comparison on social media. So I always say, make it personal, right? And then give her a challenge, because kids like to be challenged. Challenge her to delete social media, challenge her to put her phone down, challenge her to like make parameters for herself, and ask her at the end of that challenge, how does she feel?
I'll add to that, I think giving her other role models. Like, obviously, I think for you to be one is really phenomenal, and to show her other people like Ashley Graham are very openly talking about their journeys and this relationship with social media, body image, insecurity. And similarly, I think a community is so powerful, and giving people, the realization, like, you're not alone, right? And the story comes in many different forms, many different colors, but the underlying feelings are pretty consistent. I think that's, particularly for teenagers, so necessary.
Ariella, when we think about this campaign and even just using the terms, how do you think about mental wellness as opposed to mental illness? Like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, something that led us to building Real was thinking that, like, in our country, we are consistently building for mental illness, right? When it comes to healthcare solutions, we're constantly figuring out, how do I solve mental illness, as opposed to thinking, how do I build a mentally well world, right? And that takes a really different approach to care, right? Not about, like, I've met someone once they're sick, I've met someone once they're at rock bottom, how do I medicate them? But rather, like, what do I have to do to build a sustained mentally well life, right? What does it look like? And that doesn't mean being happy all the time. It means being in touch with your feelings, right? It means being aware of, like, I can name, this is what I'm going through. I'm aware of my triggers. I know how to work through them, not against them. And particularly as it relates to, I mean, not just people building products or services, but influencers, role models. We have to think of not like, how do I just help someone at their rock bottom, but instead, how do I ensure fewer people get there, right? And build a world where we're all integrating mental health in our lives.
I think it's really important. You know, as we think about Mental Health Awareness Month, so many people have been great about getting, you know, having a conversation about, I struggle with my mental health. And as we move forward, being able to talk about the fact that this is something that is a lifelong thing, right? And that people do get treatment, they do get better, and that as we, you know, as we are going along our journeys, it will continue to be a part of our lives. The more we can kind of change conversation about that and just make it so normal and regular, I think that's really going to benefit everyone, especially kids. You know, Ashley, you're talking about having 3 little ones under the age of 3. You know, when you think about the messages that you're trying to teach your kids.
Always gets me. Yes.
And actually, you know, as a mother, I'm curious, like, how is it that you think about, like, what to teach kids about beauty and the importance of, you know, there is no one size fits all?
Especially for my, I have boys, right? And so I'm looking like it just feels different. Like I'm the oldest of 3 girls. And so like, and I know, and I talk to so many women and like, that's my life. It's like, it's like, and so now we're like wrestling. Like my 4-month-old boys are like, roll me over now. They want to be wrestled. So it is a little bit different. But I think for me, I want to continue the conversation. The same conversation I would have with with a daughter is the same one I would have with my sons. Is you are welcomed, like you are a part of us, and we have an open relationship. Like in my family, we didn't talk about everything. Everything was brushed under the rug. And my husband has made a very big point, say like, we are not gonna live that kind of life that we were taught. And you learn from your mistakes and you build something new within your family. And so to be able to talk about social issues, to be able to talk about things that are going on in our minds and how do we cope and things like that, that's going to be the dinner time table conversations. So it's not just gonna be focused around beauty, it's going to be focused around our lives and truly what each of us are going through.
I'm sort of curious, how many people had a similar experience growing up where mental health was not talked about in their families?
Not at all. Yeah.
So probably like 2/3 of 3/4 of the, yeah? And how many people now are talking about that in their, you know, in their households with friends? Yeah, wow, that's, that's almost everyone, incredible. More questions from the audience? Yes, please. I'm going to try to repeat it for the streamers.
Go for it. Thanks for being so vulnerable, guys. I appreciate it. My name's Dania. So we've been talking a lot about being open with your mental health, and a lot of you guys are, you know, in the public sphere. How do you deal with kind of being perceived? Like, so you're letting so many people into your life every day, and how do you know when to assert your boundaries and be like, that's enough sharing of myself?
So for the audience, how do you know when to assert your boundaries?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of sharing yourself.
Well, I'm a Scorpio. I have lots of secrets. First of all. For myself, I mean, there's a line. Like, I will post a TikTok sitting on a toilet with a bunch of squatty potties, but, you know, but then there's just certain things that you're not going to see because I don't want it to. I don't want you all to, right? So it's just, for me, I've just created boundaries. The biggest thing for me, like as far as like being perceived, and you were asking, I think you were going down a road of like, how do you care about the perception of people, right? Like a little bit. Like the first thing in my head that I did was I just threw up a middle finger, like, because that's just like my gut reaction is like, I don't care what people think. Like that's why my Instagram is the way that it is. That's why my Twitter like is the way it is. That's why my TikTok, it's just like, it just is, because if I'm gonna put it there, why would I care what anybody thinks? I'm putting it out there for that 14-year-old girl. I'm putting it out there for the me that didn't have somebody to look up to. So my first reaction is, if you're gonna put yourself out there, you better be ready.
Right. Yeah. A good friend of mine once told me, everyone's opinion of you is none of your business. If you're worried about what somebody's thinking about you, you're being nosy. And so I tried to, and it's tough. It's tough, but you know, I try to not feed into it. I mean, oftentimes I don't look at comments on things. I just put it out there. And then to the second point, I completely echo what Ashley said. Like, you may think that you're seeing all of it, but you're seeing all the parts of it that I want you to see. That doesn't mean that everything that you see is perfectly crafted or curated. If you're seeing the mess, you're seeing the amount of mess that I want you to see. If you're seeing the beauty or the good, you're seeing the amount of the good that I want you to see. And so I'm really comfortable and okay with not giving my full self.
And you shouldn't.
Yeah.
I forgot who it was. Oh, sorry to cut you off, but
No.
I think it was Priyanka Chopra just said, like, there's something about being, what did she say exactly? Does anybody know what I'm about to say? She said something about Instagram, like not everything has to be on social media, and that's being that's being smart. I forgot her exact quote, but it's true. It's like, just because it didn't happen doesn't mean it has to be on social media, right?
Yes.
Like, just because that happened in my life and it was a good or it was a bad, it was an ugly, whatever thing, doesn't mean I have to post it, right? So there's something about being mature. That was the word. Mature.
Great word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, I was done. I was good.
Let's get one more question.
I have a question.
Somebody from the team.
This is gonna be hard.
So I think that social media is very oversaturated with health and wellness influencers who have a lot of differentiating opinions on how to identify how you're feeling and how to help those feelings. And I think it can often be beneficial to hear different perspectives, but I also think it might be doing a lot of harm that people don't necessarily realize. So how do you shut that off and tune back into yourself and just listen to, at the end of the day, this is what I need to do for me, and kind of remove that cloud of other opinions.
Grey's Anatomy is a really great show, but I don't go to Grey's Anatomy to seek out physical, opinions. And I think that's I'll repeat a little bit of your question. Sorry for the people on the stream. Basically, now I don't know how to repeat the question, but I will answer it. Don't, right? I've messed myself up. But yeah, no, I know that personally, when I look and see things on Instagram, it could even be like beauty advice, like something as mundane as beauty advice. I take it for what it is. Like, that's that person's experience with the product. As it pertains to mental health, that's that person's personal experience. And for me, I take it as just that. Not advice for myself, but their review of a situation for themselves that they've decided to post publicly. And that's the bit of advice, or that's what I would offer to anyone else. Yeah.
I mean, I just don't follow people that I don't care what they have to say, so, period.
Delete the app. That's my prescription. Delete the app.
My Explore page is like animals and like the wilderness. Yeah.
This side, any questions?
Said it.
I'm on TikTok just because I watch pimple popping for hours. It is soul care. It's amazing to me.
That's funny.
There's other ways, like, social media does have different sort of like, paths you can take on it, right?
Yeah, TikTok will take you.
aspiration, and then there's just mindlessness. And so, like, is mindlessness is your soul care?
Hey.
We're down, right?
Yes, please.
I know there's a lot about body positivity out, but have you ever practiced body neutrality at all before?
And when you say practice body neutrality, what do you mean?
So I read about body neutrality, I think like last year, where it's like body positivity is more so like you kind of like embrace, like you're like, I love my body, whatever, but body neutrality is more so like, this is what I have to stay alive, so I'm just gonna take care of it.
I just wanted to hear what you thought, because everybody's definition is different. Because that's the world we live in today, right? I think that there is toxic positivity. And I think that you can have toxic positivity towards yourself too, right? Where you're like your own hype chick and you're like, I got this. And then you go into the real world and you tank because you didn't believe it, right?
Yeah, I feel like body positivity is
That's
very
body
fake
posi-
if you make it sometimes.
It can be that. And I have used it and used it and used it. And when we started talking about body neutrality, which by the way, just kind of the term came around this year, right? So this is all new to us. But it totally makes sense. I was actually interviewing Demi Lovato and she had told me like, I can't lie to myself in the mirror. I can't say like, oh, you look so great. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting, like to take it as a perception of lying to yourself. And then body neutrality came about and it was like, oh, there's like, hey body, thank you for waking up today. Thank you for being alive. And there is that purpose that you can really tap into. And I think that body neutrality is important. And it's a conversation and a term that we need to really start amping up, especially for a younger generation who don't and should not fake it till they make it, because faking it is going to spinball into something that can be very detrimental for their life, because faking is only going to ruin. Yeah,
I've never appreciated that term, fake it till you make it.
Yeah, I mean, I think like going into a job interview, it's really great. But if you have to be if you're really struggling with depression, if you're really struggling with anxiety, and you have to have this constant conversation about your body, your appearance, whatever is going on inside, and you have to lie to yourself every morning, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Body.
I think about, myself, and I had a big weight loss journey that moved me into this wellness journey that I'm in now. And I say wellness journey because it's a continued practice, and my why has changed. I started to lose weight. I stayed because I enjoy feeling strong. I focus not on a number now, and now on physical strength, feeling strong in my body. I think about my strong legs and how my strong legs make me more equipped to attack a workout. My strong legs make me faster on the bike. And so for me, it's been more about looking at my body differently now. I take one trip when I carry those groceries off the subway or out of a car, right? And so I look at my body for what my body is able to do and how it's able to perform. Not all day, every day. There are days I look at myself in the mirror and I'm not liking what's going on because I'm a human being, right? And then when that shift happens and that energy moves out of me, I come back to my center and the space where I'm like, okay, but you're strong and you feel good. And so I try to focus on that personally.
And it's important to have the strong words. I think going back to the body neutrality, body positivity, still having a grasp on the words that you're speaking over yourself are important, right? Because your words have such an impact on who you are and where you're headed. So if you're constantly down, like hurting yourself with your words in the mirror, then that's also going to be detrimental. So you just have to be very careful with what words you're choosing to speak over your life. Yeah.
I have like no words after you two. I mean, I feel all the same. I think similar to the language piece, we talk so much about like being thoughtful and intentional about language we use and acting from the what can I do and not what do I look like, right? And using, I think, more like what does my body able of, what can I do as opposed to how am I perceived is so important. I think a question we had earlier, maybe with Shonda's, I'd thought of a previous coach of mine had once shared, like someone's perception of you is 99% based on who they are and not who you are. And I think similarly thinking of like how we go about the world and how we think of ourselves should come from that place of like everyone else is truly thinking in their own heads, right? And they are all, and in a way that's unfortunate, like we all are wondering how they're doing, right? And everything is based on what their upbringing looked like and how they, their mind was trained essentially. And so the best I can do to feel well and able through life is to define myself by what can I do and not what do other people think I look like. And I'm also like new to the term, though we'd done some like events and programming around it at Real, and very much believe in thinking about what we can do and not how we look.
Thank you. Everyone, thank you so much for coming today, for being a part of this discussion. And we're all coming together because this is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I really just want to take a minute to think about the people. And as a clinician, for me, this means patients. And I think about the patients I've had over the years who would just so value this discussion we are having today. Everyone from, teenagers who are getting bullied in school, and veterans who have, fought and come back and struggle with trauma, and mothers who are struggling with postpartum depression. And, mental health is usually just struggled with in silence. People struggle in silence and have so much pain for years. And it's not just the people who are struggling, it's their loved ones and family. And my favorite part of this partnership that Real and Revlon are doing, and I apologize, I'm getting emotional right now, is that now in thousands of CVSs all around the country, Revlon is showing this campaign. And I have to thank Revlon. They're now making Real's membership available. And please bear with me. I just think about how powerful that is to walk into a CVS and you're going down the makeup aisle and you're seeing these words that celebrating your mental wellness is beautiful. And when you've been silenced for decades, when you haven't felt like you could even talk about what it is to struggle with mental health, when people have silenced you, and just to see a powerful message like that from a company like Revlon, I mean, that's game changing. That just like validates the pain you've struggled with for so long. And I just think about like when a teenager or when a kid is gonna walk through the aisle and see that, or someone who's like, had this for like 30 years. And it's not just like, one, I think it changes stigma, it changes like the words we use and how people are gonna understand what it means like to have these challenges, but then what it means for future generations and just like the power that, what all that brings to the future of mental health. I just really can't, I don't even have I talk a lot, I'm a psychiatrist, you guys, like I'm talking all the time, and I don't even have the words for, I think, how deeply meaningful that's going to be for so many people. So just thank you for creating this partnership and bringing these really powerful companies together to put a message like that out there. And thank you all for being here. I just can't articulate what I know this is going to mean to the patients who I have the privilege of seeing. And really just look forward to how this is going to advance the conversation and how this will help people get help earlier and just for everyone to really do better. So thank you.